Chapter 6. What the Pictures Won't Show. The camera captures the smile, not the silence that came before it. Michael perspective. There are photos of us everywhere. Perfectly framed memories lining the shelves, frozen smiles above the mantel, candid joy caught mid-laugh on Jessica's phone. They tell a story. One we've carefully crafted. One she believes in. Beach trips. Dinners. Firm events. Family holidays. We look like the version of love people envy. Secure, polished, legacy-bound. But what the pictures won't show is the weight I carry when the camera isn't looking. The guilt behind my grin. The way I avoid eye contact when she says forever, like it's still a promise. The nights I stay late at the office because I can't face the quiet of our shared bed. They won't show the hesitation in my touch. The lies in my schedule. The woman who isn't in the frame. They won't show Jennifer. They won't show me. This version of me. Because what lives behind the lens isn't picture perfect. It's the part I can't control. 3 weeks before the wedding, and my life is quietly falling apart. On the surface, everything looks pristine. I'm about to make partner. My name echoes through courtroom corridors like a promise. Colleagues nod. Judges lean in. People stop me in hallways to shake my hand like I've already made it. But inside, I'm unraveling. A slow, invisible rot. Like I tugged one loose thread, and now the whole suit is coming apart in my hands. Neatly, quietly, fatally. Most mornings I wake soaked in sweat, heart pounding like I've been running from something I can't name. I roll over and look at Jessica, my fiancée, the woman I'm supposed to build forever with, and sometimes she feels like a stranger, a silhouette in our bed, a question I don't want to answer. How did I get here? How did I become the man who kisses her forehead goodnight with someone else's scent still on his skin? I tell myself I love her, that this is stress, bad timing. A momentary lapse I'll fix before the vows. But that's a lie. I'm not slipping. I've already slipped. And the worst part? I'm not sure I want to stop. Sometimes I catch myself hoping she'll figure it out, that she'll look me in the eye, direct, unflinching, and ask. And I won't have to say it, because if I say it out loud, if I admit what I've done, it becomes real. It becomes permanent. It becomes me. And I don't know if I can live with that version of myself. Jessica is everything I thought I needed. Sharp, steady, loyal. The kind of woman who doesn't just see who you are, but who you could be, and builds a life around that possibility. She brings calm. She brings structure. She brings the future. She's safety. And for a long time, safety felt like enough. So why do I keep reaching for the match? Why do I keep lighting fires I know I can't contain? And yet, even as I ask myself why I keep chasing the flame, I already know the answer. Because the fire has a name. The pull. Jennifer wasn't supposed to be anything. She was Jessica's best friend. The wild card. Sharp-tongued, magnetic, always laughing too loud or watching too closely. From the beginning, she challenged me in ways Jessica never did. Where Jessica offered peace, Jennifer was all friction. Where Jessica built foundations, Jennifer cracked open walls. Jessica is a lighthouse, steady, guiding, illuminating the safest way home. Jennifer is lightning, unpredictable, brilliant, gone before you know what hit you. Dangerous if you hold on too long. It started small, harmless even. A drink after a seminar, a ride to her condo, a silence in the elevator that stretched just a second too long, buzzing with something neither of us wanted to name. Then it was a glance, a touch, her fingers grazing mine, accidentally then not. The air between us shifted, then it was heat, then it was contact, then it was fire. And after that first time, I didn't stop, not when I should have, not ever. With Jennifer, I didn't have to perform, didn't have to be Michael Johnson, future partner, didn't have to be Jessica's perfect man. I could be fractured, unpolished, the mess I buried 6 layers beneath my suits. She didn't ask for perfection. She wanted the truth beneath it. And when she found it, she didn't run. She leaned in. It wasn't love. I won't lie to myself about that. But it was real. Real in the way her laugh echoed off hotel walls at midnight. Real in the way her fingers rested on my chest like she knew this story didn't end well, but couldn't stop reading anyway. She wore recklessness like perfume, and I breathed it in like oxygen, even when it choked me. Some nights I'd stare at her name on my phone and tell myself I was done, that I'd delete the number, walk away. I didn't. I let the ache settle, let the heat crawl under my skin and hoped it would burn itself out. It didn't, and then she stormed into my office. "What the hell, Michael?" she snapped, breathless, furious. "You're really going through with this?" I leaned back, calm and composed, detached, because that's what I did when I didn't want to bleed in front of someone. "Jennifer, what is this?" She stepped in closer, eyes sharp, unforgiving. "Don't play dumb. You know exactly why I'm here." I crossed my arms, hoping she'd flinch first. "You knew what this was." She stared at me like she was trying to peel back the skin. "You're really marrying her? What about us?" Her voice cracked. Mine didn't. "I told you. It was temporary. You knew the deal." Silence stretched, but her eyes didn't leave mine. "You promised me in Atlanta. You said we had a future." I looked away, not because I didn't care, but because I cared more than I wanted to admit. Wow. So I was the placeholder? The dress rehearsal before you made it official? "I never promised." "You didn't have to," she bit back. "You just kept coming back, again and again. And now you expect me to stand there and smile while you slide a ring onto a lie?" I stood, ran a hand over my face, felt the weight settle where it always did, between my ribs. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," I said. "You were the only thing that made sense that weekend." "You saw me, and I liked it too much to stop." It was the closest I'd come to telling the truth. "Messy, right?" she said, quieter now. "You're screwing me and lying to her." "That's not messy, Michael, that's cowardice." I didn't fight back, because she was right. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I heard how hollow it sounded the moment it left my mouth. "No," she said. "You're not sorry. You're just sorry I'm saying it out loud." And when she said it, I believed her. You can't build forever on a graveyard and expect it to stand. Her words struck something I'd been trying to bury, but I said what I had to. I'm not blowing up everything for something that was never going to last. Cold, detached. Told her it was a mistake, that she shouldn't make it more than it was. But that same night, I called her back. Not to apologize, not really. I just needed to feel something again. And she always made me feel everything I wasn't supposed to want. And maybe I would have kept going, kept lying, kept pretending, if it hadn't been for Jason. Jason. The lounge was already too loud, too hot, too filled with things left unsaid. Jason pulled me aside, his hand firm on my arm. Not rough, but final. I knew that grip. It was the prelude to a reckoning. He didn't waste time. "What's going on between you and Jennifer?" The air between us tightened like a noose. I straightened my shoulders. "What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb, Mike." His voice didn't rise. That made it worse. "You think I haven't noticed? The looks, the tension, the way you two move around each other like magnets you're trying to pretend aren't pulling?" I tried to shake him off with a laugh. "You sound like Kathy." "No," he said. "I sound like someone who still believes Jessica deserves the truth." Then his eyes locked on mine, unflinching. "Don't do this," he hissed, low and controlled. "Don't stand here acting like everything's fine. You've been lying. To Jessica, to me, to yourself." I folded my arms, armor I didn't even believe in anymore. "It's not what you think." "Then explain it to me," he snapped. "Tell me what it is, Mike. Make it make sense." But I couldn't, not in a way that would sound anything less than monstrous. He shook his head. "You want to wreck your own life? Fine. But don't drag everyone else down with you." Something inside me buckled, twisted, lashed back. "You're one to talk. Kathy's had you on a leash for years and won't even say the word commitment. You want to come for me? Start by cleaning up your own shit." Jason's fists clenched. His jaw ticked once, tight and deliberate. "You don't get to deflect." His voice was steel. "Not this time." But I wasn't done. I knew how to wound. That night I wanted blood. Maybe it's time you stop chasing someone who barely looks at you. Maybe it's time you go after someone who actually sees you. Someone like Jennifer. The change was instant. His expression didn't twist. It didn't explode. It collapsed. "You're really going there?" he said quietly. "You're going to use her to cut me now?" He stepped in, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off his restraint. "What happened to you?" It wasn't a question. It was a eulogy. And then he walked away. No shouting, no fists, just that quiet final exit that left me standing in the wreckage I pretended I could control. Jason's silence said everything. I had become the kind of man even my best friend couldn't recognize. The mirror. After Jason walked off, I didn't follow. I stayed there, by the wall, fists clenched, jaw aching, like pain might somehow justify what I'd just said, what I'd become. His silence echoed louder than any accusation, louder than any punch he could have thrown. And for the first time in a long time, I felt small. Not the man with the corner office, not the name etched in courtrooms, just a boy again. Watching someone walk away and knowing the door wouldn't open the same way again. I slid onto one of the high stools tucked in the back corner, away from the music, the chatter, the curated joy, away from Jessica, from Jennifer, from every lie dressed in designer suits and lipstick. And I thought of him, my father. How he'd come home late with a smile that smelled like someone else's perfume. How he'd smooth my mother's hair and kiss her like it was reflex, not remorse. And how she'd let him. How she'd wear forgiveness like a uniform. Quiet, consistent, corrosive. The day I found out he was cheating didn't change him. It changed me. It rewired something. Made me promise I'd never be him. That I'd never make a woman fold herself into silence because I couldn't hold my own reflection. But here I am, holding hands with Jessica, texting Jennifer with the other, telling myself I'm different because I still feel guilty. But maybe the worst part isn't the cheating, it's how familiar it's become. How lying now feels like breathing. Automatic. Expected. I thought I had control. I told myself I wasn't my father. But Jason's voice still echoed in my chest. "What happened to you?" And the truth is, I don't know. All I know is that I've crossed the line he did. Only slower, softer, dressed in better suits and prettier lies. The only difference? He never looked back. I don't know if I still can. But I stood, smoothed my collar, fixed my face, walked toward Jessica, who still smiled like I hadn't already broken the future she was building for us. And as I crossed the floor, one step closer to her and 1,000 miles away from the man I used to be, I knew the truth was coming, whether I said it or not. Jessica. And as I sat beside Jessica, watching the way her wine glass caught the light, the weight of everything I hadn't said pressed harder against my chest. She turned to me slowly, her expression unreadable, but her voice was too even, like it had been rehearsed. "What happened with Jason?" I blinked, caught off guard by the shift. "Told him to stop chasing Kathy, said maybe he should give someone else a chance." Her face didn't move, but her eyes sharpened. "Someone else," she repeated, the words tasting bitter. "You mean Jennifer?" The name landed between us like a dare. I didn't say that. "But you meant it." I hesitated. "I just meant, he keeps waiting for her to choose him. Maybe it's time he looked somewhere else." Her laugh was soft, humorless. "So you're passing Jennifer around now? Offering her up like she's a second helping of regret?" I flinched. "That's not what She's my best friend, Michael, not a fallback. Not a trade-off because Kathy scares him." She sat forward, her voice rising just enough. "And Jason doesn't need a distraction. He needs space. Grace. Maybe even to fall apart a little without everyone trying to fix it for him." I looked away, jaw tight. She wasn't done. "Kathy told me why she hesitates. You know that? She said marriage feels like erasure, like giving herself up just to be someone else's something. And she's right. It's not easy for people like her to love without losing themselves." Her voice softened, but her words cut cleaner than before. "You don't just wake up and fix that. You build toward it, with patience, with trust. And Jason's willing to. He's just tired of not knowing if she ever will." I stayed silent. She leaned back, eyes flicking over me. But offering him Jennifer like she's the fix? That wasn't about helping Jason. That was about hurting him, or avoiding whatever's unraveling in you. I opened my mouth, closed it. No defense felt honest enough. The ride home was quieter than I expected. No music, just the dull hum of tires on pavement and Jessica's thoughts sitting between us, heavy and unspoken. I reached for her hand on instinct. She let me, but didn't hold back. Her fingers lay there, loose, as if waiting for something more than skin. Maybe truth. Maybe proof I still knew what to do with her trust. We stopped at a red light. I brushed my hand across her thigh, gentle, teasing, searching for a spark that used to be effortless. She arched a brow. Really? I smiled faintly. What? She gave a small, dry laugh. You trying to seduce me at a red light, Johnson? I chuckled, playing along. Is it working? She didn't answer, just turned her head toward the window. Her smile lingered, but something in it cracked. A shift. Not anger. Not yet. But a growing awareness that whatever was between us wasn't untouched, wasn't whole. I pulled my hand away, resting it back on the wheel. The silence filled in again, cooler now, more cautious, and in that stillness, I felt it. Her grace withdrawing 1 quiet inch at a time, the beginning of distance, the beginning of knowing, the beginning of the end, the fallout. The next morning I couldn't shake the weight in my chest. I woke before dawn. Jessica was still asleep beside me, her hand resting gently across my stomach like nothing had shifted, like her world hadn't started to tilt, but mine had. I lay there, eyes fixed on the ceiling, the room slowly lightening around me. The silence felt thick. My throat was dry, my pulse too loud in the quiet. I had lied, not just with words but with silences, with glances, with every calculated breath I took across that table last night. And Jason, he had seen it all. I needed something. Closure, absolution, maybe just confirmation that I hadn't shattered everything beyond repair. So I did something I rarely do. I reached out. You free for lunch today? My treat. Just us. 15 minutes passed. Then the dots appeared. Yeah, sure. Noon. Rooftop cafe. When I stepped into the hallway at the firm that afternoon, Jason was already waiting by the elevator, arms folded, suit sharp. He didn't look angry. He looked resolved, like a man who had already made peace with walking away. Appreciate you making time, I said. He gave a short nod. No smile. Let's get to it. And we sat across from each other on the rooftop terrace. The sun filtered through hazy clouds, too bright for what needed to be said. I didn't bother with small talk. You saw something last night, I said low. Jason's expression didn't shift. No, I confirmed it. I met his eyes. It's over. Whatever it was, I ended it. He leaned back, folding his arms across his chest. You say that like it changes something. It does. No, Mike, it doesn't. Because if it were really over, you wouldn't flinch every time her name comes up. You wouldn't have looked at her like that. And you damn sure wouldn't have weaponized her to hurt me. I looked away. You weren't just reckless, he said. You were cruel. You used Jennifer to distract from your own disaster and drag the rest of us into it. I was cornered, I muttered. No, you were exposed, he said, quieter now. And instead of facing it, you lit a match. I clenched my jaw. I didn't mean for it to get this far. You didn't mean for Jessica to find out, he said. Or for me to realize I don't recognize the man I used to call my brother. I looked down, the weight of it all starting to settle. I'm trying to fix it, Jason gave a soft, humorless laugh. Then start with the truth, because I'm done carrying it for you. My gaze snapped up. You told her? No, he said. Not yet, but she's already asking the right questions. And when she looks me in the eye and asks for the truth, I'm not lying. I swallowed hard, the words sticking like ash in my throat. Then he dropped the second blow. I'm leaving the firm. What? I'm taking over my dad's practice in Virginia. The transition's already underway. The partnership, 90%'s mine. It landed like a punch. You're serious? He nodded. You wanted this city, this firm, this legacy. Congratulations, it's yours. I stared at him. You're still standing beside me at the wedding? He hesitated, then nodded once. Yeah, I'll stand beside you. He pushed back from the table, stood tall, adjusted his jacket like it was armor. But I won't stand for you, he turned. And then, without pause, without venom, just enough bite to twist the knife, he said, maybe one day, you'll work for me. And then he walked away. No threat, no handshake, just the quiet end of something that used to feel unbreakable. The wedding. The day everything was supposed to feel solid. I married Jessica. On paper, the best decision of my life. She looked unreal, like she'd been sketched from the corners of every dream we ever painted together. Silk and sunlight wrapped around her like a promise, radiant, composed, unshakable, the kind of beauty that made people believe in forever. And I stood beside her, trying to pretend I still deserved it. I cleared my throat halfway through the ceremony, the words catching like guilt at the back of my throat. Every vow I spoke felt like a challenge to fate. Let's see how long he can keep up the lie. When the officiant asked if I'd take this woman to be my wife, I hesitated, just for a breath, long enough to see Jennifer's face in my mind, in the crowd, in my head, watching, waiting, shaking her head like she already knew how this ended. A flash of red, a hotel room, a name I shouldn't have whispered in the dark, gone in an instant. I said yes anyway. The applause that followed didn't sound like joy. It sounded like thunder cracking over a fault line. Jason stood beside me, my best man, my oldest friend, but he might as well have been a ghost. His expression was carved from stone. No smile, no glance, no acknowledgement. Not during the vows, not during the photos, not even when I looked across the table and mouthed, "Thank you." He didn't blink. He didn't answer. He was present, but not really there. A monument to the version of me that hadn't yet broken everything. And still, he gave a toast. Eventually. Jason's speech. Jason stood slowly, adjusting the cuffs of his suit like the fabric had started to tighten against his skin. The room stilled. Not out of formality, but instinct. Everyone could feel it. Good. This wasn't just another best man speech. He raised his glass. His voice was calm. Practiced. Too calm. To Michael and Jessica, he began, his eyes scanning the crowd before finally landing on her. Two people who, at first glance, couldn't be more different. Fire and precision, ambition and grounding. But if you spend any real time with them, you learn something pretty quickly. They balance each other. A ripple of polite laughter. One of those safe wedding chuckles that fills space without meaning. Jessica smiled beside me, her fingers curling lightly over mine. She had no idea. Jason glanced down at his glass, then back up. But when he looked again, it was only at her. I've known Michael most of my life, he continued, and the tone shifted, just enough for anyone really listening to notice. And I can't say he's always taken the easy road. A pause. A few people laughed, nervous, unsure, but he's always known how to tune out the noise. Lock in on what he wants, follow it, relentlessly. No matter the cost. There it was. Quiet. Surgical. He let it hang for a moment. Not long. Just long enough. Then his gaze returned to Jessica, and this time his voice softened, stripped bare. And Jessica, you're the reason that path means something. She blinked slowly. Her smile didn't quite hold. Not like before. Jason didn't flinch. To strength, he said, lifting his glass again, to forgiveness, and to a future worth fighting for, even when the past keeps showing up uninvited. He didn't look at me, not once. The toast ended where it began, with her, to the Johnsons. Applause followed, on cue, loud, predictable, hollow. But beneath it, the silence said everything. Jason was beside me, but he hadn't stood for me. Not really. He stood for her. Kathy stayed close to Jessica that night, loyal, luminous, just out of reach. To the rest of the room, she was a portrait of composure, effortless grace, the kind of woman who smoothed chaos with a smile and steadied everyone else with her presence. But I watched her when no one else did. And it wasn't Jessica she was watching. It was Jason. He kept his distance, orbiting the edges of the reception like a man trying not to crash into something he still loved. And Kathy? She noticed. Her spine straightened every time their proximity closed. Her gaze flickered. Her expression held. She never looked directly at him, but her stillness told on her. They were in a quiet war of restraint. Something between them had gone unsaid for too long, and tonight, it showed. Still, she never slipped. Not once. She laughed at Jessica's stories, fixed her dress, filled her glass. But I caught the tell. Her jaw tightening every time Jason looked away just a second too soon. They were fragments pretending to be fine, but that wasn't my fire to put out. After the cake, after Jason's speech, which felt more like a quiet elegy for Jessica than a toast to our marriage, I leaned toward her, murmuring just above the noise. Jennifer had to leave. Jessica blinked up at me, confusion flickering for a beat before she nodded. Like she knew. Like she had expected it. Like she had stopped asking questions she wasn't ready to hear the answers to. That was the thing about Jessica. She still trusted me, even when she shouldn't. Later, I stepped out onto the balcony. The music thudded behind the glass, muffled by distance and guilt. I loosened my tie, took a slow sip of champagne, pretended the skyline could distract me from the truth, but my fingers found it anyway. The envelope, tucked in the inner lining of my jacket. Same suit I wore to say, vows I barely believed, to promise a future I was already trying to outrun. I'd slipped it into my pocket right after the ceremony, right after I kissed my wife with applause still ringing in my ears and Jennifer's name still echoing in the back of my mind. The envelope was light, but it felt like lead in my chest. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Some truths don't need to be read to be real. They just hum beneath the surface like a splinter under skin, small, buried, but aching with every breath. Behind me, celebration carried on. Crystal clinking, laughter rising, Jessica's voice, so warm, so sure, drifting above the noise. Kathy's silhouette not far behind, her posture caught somewhere between poise and pain. But out here, alone with that envelope pressing against my heart, I knew. You don't always hear the moment your life unravels. Sometimes it's quiet, a sealed truth, a name left unspoken, a woman slipping away, 1 inch at a time. And by the time you notice, it's already gone.